Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? The Saints are heading into their offseason, and there's really two names that everybody's talking about with respect to free agency. It's Michael Thomas and Jameis Winston. If you weren't here at the start of the show, we talked about Michael Thomas a little further because Derek Carr went on a podcast and kind of responded to Michael Thomas's criticism on Twitter, and Derek Carr didn't really hold back. He actually did exactly what Derek Carr does. He veiled his criticism with compliments, but they ended up being backhanded compliments because of the way Carr then wiped away all the goodwill with his criticism of Michael Thomas. So I think everyone understands and agrees that for all intents and purposes, Michael Thomas's time as a New Orleans Saint is done. It's hard to imagine a path forward with the last 4 years going the way they have with his injury history. As I said, Thomas has as many years as a productive receiver as he does as an injury-prone locker room cancer. He was productive for 4 years. In the last 4 years, he's been non-existent. So Michael Thomas is one, but I think we know how it's going to go. And the other is Jameis. And Jameis is a free agent, and he's part of a very interesting free agent class this year, where it's Jameis, it's Baker Mayfield, who I think a lot of people think is going to end up back in Tampa, and then Kirk Cousins, who's a free agent in Minnesota, who we'll see where he lands. But Jameis was a guest on Pardon My Take at Barstool, and the way you'll hear this interaction, the way they kind of phrased the question was, if you could live anywhere, where would you want to live? And they threw out Seattle, Atlanta, DC, Foxborough, Denver. And obviously those are 4 spots or 5 spots that could be looking for quarterbacks with the Seahawks, the Falcons, the Commanders, the Patriots, the Broncos, which is where Sean Payton is, who brought Jameis to New Orleans 4 years ago. Anyway, this runs about a minute or so. It's about a minute or so, and you'll hear Jameis talk about the place where he may want to end up in free agency, and I don't think Saints fans are going to like this.
We play this game with everybody that comes on the show. I've got 4 cities, just random cities, and you tell me which one you like the best, which one you could maybe see yourself living in. Seattle, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and Foxborough, Massachusetts. Just 4 random cities. Random cities.
Totally random.
Which one of those cities?
They sound random.
Yeah, they're very random.
Oh, in Denver.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that one.
Yeah, random.
Anyone that accepts me.
Yeah.
But I would just say this. Atlanta, I grew up an hour and a half from Atlanta. Like, I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I think that would be a beautiful time for just my family. That would be beautiful, but I feel like I'm the attraction. I'm the thing, like I'm the city that is going to bring joy, love, trust, peace, integrity to any location that I'm at, because I'm a man of increase.
Yes,
right.
So I am the city.
Yes.
So that's powerful.
Yes.
It really is. Really is. So wherever it may be, that city is going to be getting someone that is ready.
Yeah.
A kingdom man that is prepared to grow everyone around them.
So Jameis at Atlanta, and not necessarily the Falcons organization, but because he's from nearby and it would be good for his family. And I think most people could respect that. And look, if Jameis ends up in Atlanta, and I don't know what's going to happen with Atlanta, I think what I'm confident in saying, I think we would all agree, is that Desmond Ridder isn't going to be the franchise quarterback for the Falcons, right? I think we all understand and agree on that front. So do they trade for Justin Fields? Do they draft a quarterback? Do they sign Jameis and draft a quarterback? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with the Falcons. And it would suck because Jameis is a really good locker room guy. Do you remember Jimmy Graham's tweet? The Saints played the Falcons. I mean, incidentally, all the hullabaloo about the Week 18 game where Jameis went and scored against the Falcons. It called his own play sort of deal. Well, Jimmy Graham went on Twitter after all that criticism and said, get off of Jameis's back. This man is the best teammate I've ever had. Loves this city, this game, embodies everything you can ask for in a leader. Was a rare situation. We all take responsibility, etc. But anyway, the point was Jimmy Graham said point blank, Jameis is the best teammate I've ever had. Like, bar none, no qualifiers. Best teammate I've ever had. But the reality is Jameis isn't an elite quarterback. And I don't care if he goes to the Falcons. As a matter of fact, I hope he goes to the Falcons. I mean, I'd love to see him in New Orleans because he's a great locker room guy. I think he's a really good number 2, a guy who started a bunch of games in his career and won games. And I think given the fact that he was a former number 1 overall pick and athletic, is really gifted and has started a bunch and had a lot of experience, makes for a really good backup quarterback because in a pinch, you could play him for a week or 2 weeks or 5 weeks and the wheels don't fall off because he's been a starter. But do I think he's going to be a franchise quarterback? No. And I was hopeful that it would work out when the Saints signed him. I mean, I was one of the ones that stumped for it. Like the minute Tampa cut him, I was all on board, probably the first one on board. A lot of you laughed at me because all you could do is make interception and crab leg jokes. But all the reasons that it made sense back then still held true. He was athletically gifted, faced adversity for the first time in his life. He came to New Orleans, sat under Drew Brees, learned, had a great offensive mind in Sean Payton calling plays. Like all the reasons it made sense, right? And it just didn't work. It hasn't worked for a lot of reasons. Maybe if Devin White doesn't horse collar him on Halloween and Jameis tears his ACL, maybe it's different. I mean, the Saints were 5-2 at that point. Maybe it goes a completely different route. But it didn't. He had to come off the ACL, then he got injured at the start of the following season, and Andy Dalton took over, and Peyton was gone, and we know the route that it's gone. But Jameis didn't go. If he leaves and goes to Atlanta, he's not going to be their franchise quarterback leading them to championships. So if he goes to Atlanta, it would suck to see him in a Falcons uniform. It would suck because he's a good locker room guy and he's loved New Orleans and he's been a good backup. But I don't think of Jameis leaving and going to the Atlanta as like some devastating loss. Like you'd be losing this great player that's going to your rival to win games for him. And for whatever it's worth, if you look at the the free agent quarterbacks in this class that I mentioned, Cousins, Jameis, Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins is 72-63-2 in his career. Jameis is 34-46 as a starter. Baker's 31-38. You don't need to remember that, but just understand Jameis and Baker have combined to win 65 games as a starter. Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield combined have won 65 games. Kirk Cousins has won 72. 72-63-2. I'm not sitting there trying to tell you that means you should go for broke and make Kirk Cousins your franchise or any of that sort of stuff. What I'm telling you is there are, like, whatever you think of Kirk Cousins, he's had a better career than Jameis and Baker combined. So the emotional part of potentially seeing Jameis leave stinks, but competitively, he goes to Atlanta, he goes to Atlanta. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.